preparation been for you at American Top Team for this training camp?
It's been great. There's obviously a lot of good fighters down here. Big name fighters, but also the guys that aren't big names are really good too. Great coaches: Mike Brown, Anderson Franca, Steve Mocco. List goes on. King Mo, former fighter, just retired. He jumped into the coaching game a little bit. Plenty of good partners, especially my size. My opponent coming up is Southpaw, so I had a few Southpaw partners in Christoph Jotko, Roman Feraldo, and a couple others as well. And one of my other training partners, Johnny Eblin, Yaroslav Mazov, just to name a few.
Awesome. And, you said that you've had 3 opponent changes and 2 date changes. How frustrating has that been for you, not knowing who your opponent is for that amount of times?
It's been like that every single fight so far. But like my last fight against Mark Gardner, I had 3 or 4 opponents pull out or say no before he finally said yeah. So it's kind of been like the story all along. Every single fight so far, I've been offered multiple opponents. A lot of guys turn me down, and this time around, I figured since step up in competition, they offered me a guy 5-0 right off the bat. He's 5-0, undefeated, all finishes. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take it. I took it immediately. I figured he was going to say yeah too, and I was like, all right, we got a good looking fight on paper on our hands. I mean, obviously, I don't think it would have been a good fight. I think I would have completely demolished the dude. But on paper, it looks really like a really good fight, and it is matched very well. But I feel like at this stage in my career, anybody they match me up with isn't really going to be fair, because I have to get so many fights until they start matching me up with competition that's actually at my skill level or at my work ethic, and that's far beyond what my record is right now. So that guy ended up turning it down. Then they offered me Romero Cotton, 4-0, 3-time NCAA champ. I thought for sure he was going to be in. He was at first. He signed, and then like 2 or 3 days after he signed, he pulled out. They gave no reason as to why he pulled out. I think we all know how the fight game goes. A lot of guys, they duck, they dodge. They don't want to take the tough fights. They don't want to blemish their record. He's undefeated. I'm undefeated. He didn't want to take the fight. He pulled out. So then they offered me Ty Gorder, who southpaw striker, really good, 5-1, and that's who I'm at right now. And as for the date part of things, it was originally supposed to be October 15th, but we pushed it back to October 29th because that's what Romero Cotton wanted, and he ended up pulling out anyway. So he kind of effed me on the date. I was supposed to fight on the sideboard card, so I'm fighting on this one coming up. And it's against Ty Gorder. Should be a good fight.
Yeah, and you've recently said that you have like a lot of opponent changes, a lot of opponents turn you down. Obviously, I wouldn't want to fight you either, but like, are all these guys just like scared to fight you? Like, what's the reasoning behind just all these guys not wanting to fight you?
I can't. I mean, I'm not inside these guys' heads. I'm not their coaches. I'm not in their day-to-day life, so it's beyond me to just say that's the only reason. But injuries and stuff play a role. Coaches might be and managers might be like shying them away from certain people, like navigating through easier fights to build their career a little bit easier. And there's a lot of risks when you take a fight against somebody like me. I mean, I finish everybody. So, I mean, not only are we looking at a loss on your record, we're looking at a lot of damage taken. So this is a tough game. It's a dangerous game. There's a lot of repercussions to fighting, especially when you're fighting against dangerous guys. And that's what I'm in for. I want to take toughest fights. I'm not going to be the one navigating around all the tough fights and trying to pick and choose who I'm fighting. I've accepted every single person they've offered me, and nobody else has done the same. I mean, I can honestly say that every single fight, at least one guy has turned me down and pulled out of a fight every single time.
Mm-hmm. And, looking at your next opponent, Ty Gorder, he's a really great fighter. I believe you and him both share a 100% finishing rate. So I have to ask, do you see this fight being like a 3-round war, or like do you see a quick finish for you? Like, what's your prediction for how this fight goes, and what do you think of him as an opponent?
I think I finished him in the second round. I think he's a great opponent. You're not going to knock his game or anything. He does a lot of things well. He's explosive. He has power. He does some dangerous things like flying. He throws a lot of head kicks, but you know that, like I said before, there's levels to this, and I just don't feel like he's on my level. And I feel like he'll give me a good fight for the time that he's going to be fighting me for. But sooner or later, my opponents break, and I don't see it being much longer than the second round.
Hmm. And looking at the heavyweight division, and there's a lot of big names out there. We have Corey Anderson dropping in from the UFC. We have the new champ Nemkov taking out Bader. Is there any like dream fights that you have your eyes on for later in your career?
Well, I dropped down from 205 to 185. This fight coming up is at 185. So as for 185, there's no names that really, really jump at me right now. Like I said, Romero Cotton already ducked a fight with me, so I'm not even looking at him. I mean, he's 4-0. He'd be on paper another good opponent, but I'm past that now. And then I got some teammates here that are really good too, Austin Vanderford and Johnny Eblen. So obviously I'm not going to be fighting them unless it's for a title. So there's going to be other guys. When I look at the rest of the division, I don't see anybody that could beat me or really pose that much of a challenge before you get to the title contention fights. And like I said, I mean, my partners, my sparring partners, my teammates down here are very, very talented, very skilled, and they have potential to get to the top division as well as me. So maybe one day I might be seeing one of my teammates for the 185-pound title. But I mean, besides that, I mean, the only person in the division I really have my eyes set on is Mousasi or I mean, just Mousasi, really. I mean, Rafael Lovato got that brain disease or whatever, and he might fight. So when I look at the rest of the division, I mean, I'll take a fight against anybody.
Yeah, and is this your first fight at 185?
No, this is my second one.
Second one. And like, do you see yourself fighting at 185 for the rest of your career, or would you consider going back to 205 later in your career?
It's always a possibility to go back up to 205. I mean, I walk around about 210. I could always put on weight if I need to, but I see 185 being my home for now, and later on in my career, when certain matchups pop up, certain things are offered, that might spike my interest or might intrigue me a little bit more, I might jump up to 205. But until then, I'm staying at 85.
Yeah, and maybe there's a silver lining with this card because you're fighting on the undercard of Mousasi versus Lima. Who do you have winning that fight?
Gegard Mousasi is obviously going to be the bigger fighter, but I've seen him slowing down a lot, and Lima's a killer. So I honestly think Lima is going to take the belt from him. I mean, it's for a vacant belt, but Gegard Mousasi was the previous champion before Lovato beat him. I see Lima taking it.
Got it. And like, how would you recap your Bellator experience? You're 3-0, all finishes inside the Bellator cage. But do you see yourself in Bellator like for the rest of your career, and how long do you think you have in this promotion?
That's tough, man. I mean, at the end of the day, Bellator is a great promotion and everything, but there's other promotion stuff out there that's going to be competing for some of these fighters. Some of the fighters that know their worth or either want to be paid a lot, or they're going to test the free agency. And I mean, like I said, Bellator is a great promotion, but there's other great promotions out there too. So it's hard to say. It's hard to predict my future. You know what I mean when it comes to that. But I mean, I'm open to staying with Bellator. I mean, obviously it's a great promotion. I mean, we'll just see how the cards play out.
Yeah, and I guess looking into the future, like 2020, 2021's coming up. 2020 hasn't been the best for honestly any of us. I mean, obviously you got a win in 2020, but what are some of your goals for 2021 going forward?
Uh, Whoever I sign with, or if I re-sign with Bellator, to get at least 3 fights, maybe 4. I mean, finish all my fights, not just win, but finish them. So, I'm like I said, I'm down to the American top team. I'm getting better and better each day. I've already seen massive improvements in my game since I've been down here, all around. And this culture, like being around fighting all the time, being close to the gym, just always every single round training with a good guy. I mean, it's only gonna elevate my game so much more. And I mean, this time come next year, I feel bad for whoever they put in front of me.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess moving away from MMA, I always like to think what MMA fighters would be if they didn't have MMA in their lives. What career or job path, what career path would you maybe pursue if you weren't doing mixed martial arts for a living?
So I got a degree in finance uh, through Youngstown State. My dream always growing up was either to be a professional MMA fighter or a professional football player. So injuries kind of messed up the football side, kind of like chose the path for me. So if it weren't for either of those, and you're asking for like a normal like job, I shouldn't say normal because this job isn't normal, but Aries Agencies, one of my sponsors, they are in like the life insurance field, and
Hmm.
I really love their work atmosphere that they have going on there. I love their vision. I love how they push their employees. They incentivize. They just everything about the company. You really control how much money you make at the end of the day, and it's based on your performance. And I mean, that's something that I can see myself enjoying, and I still get to compete in a way. So shout out to Simon Arias at Arias Agencies. That would definitely be my go-to.
Hmm. And I saw that you signed with Paradigm. When did you sign with Paradigm?
Back in March.
Back in March. And how has your experience been with them so far? Like I love their their agency. Like I love their management. But what stands out to you about Paradigm?
I mean, they're the best in the game, man. I mean, whenever you think about like management companies, I mean, who are you thinking about whenever you're looking at the who manages the best fighters, who does the most for their fighters? I mean, Paradigm, we have Conor McGregor. I mean, shouldn't say we because I'm a part of Paradigm, but I'm not Paradigm. But Paradigm has Conor McGregor, Manny Pacquiao, Israel Adesanya, Chris Cyborg, Stephen
Hmm.
Thompson,
Michael
Michael
Venom
Page.
Page, Dalton
Yeah,
Rosta.
yeah. I mean, the list just goes on, and they don't their vision and their goal really isn't just to sign anybody. I mean, they have a limited roster, and they have several agents, all representing all of those fighters, and they don't just sign anybody. They sign potential champions, potential superstars. You know what I mean? They have to see something in you to sign you, and I mean, obviously that just that alone like speaks volumes. I mean, who they have signed with them, what their vision is, like who they'll sign, how little they keep their roster. You see a lot of management companies out here that'll sign 100, 200, maybe even more fighters. And how could you manage? Even some of them are doing it with one guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. I mean, even if you have a team of 10, how are you going to
Hmm.
manage 200, 300 people? I mean, it's not effective or efficient. So I like the way Paradigm does things, and I think truly think they're the best in the game. As I mean, that opinion shared with many others as well.
Hmm. Yeah, same here. And one last question. I didn't want to take much of your time, but how did you get the nickname of Hercules?
So I spoke on this a little bit after my last fight. I mean, this for some reason a lot of people have been asking about nicknames in MMA world, but so I started off wrestling whenever I was younger, but I got into boxing soon after. and started off boxing in Newcastle, a little bit in Elwood City, surrounding Newcastle. But then as I got older, I kind of started venturing off in the Youngstown area, as they have like a really rich background in history in boxing. They got world champions like Kelly Patrick, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, Harry. The list goes on. And like, if you're from my area, you want to be a great boxer, I mean, the place to go is Youngstown. So I love boxing itself. I was doing it. When I started earlier, I was doing it with just the intentions of just boxing. But as I got back into MMA, I did it with the intention of improving my MMA. But so I went over to the Youngstown area, and the gym I started at, Downtown Boxing Club, Larry Filer's gym. And first day I was down there, I was hitting pads, and I was crushing pads. Pads were popping, cracking. I mean, obviously I have a lot of power. I'm a 185 pounder. A lot of 185 pounders do. But I feel like I have an extra little bit of power. And, there were some reporters down there, some like promoters, like getting ready to like pick some guys up for some fights. Also some like older people that were down there just doing it for exercise. And this guy named Ron, who actually used to spar with Muhammad Ali, back in the day, was down there, and he really took a liking to me. And like I said, that day when we were on the pads, me and my coach at the time, Sam Caldron, everybody, I wasn't even paying attention at first. I was just hitting the pads. And then after that round, when the break comes, I look around and everybody's just around the ring watching me hit pads. And like people making comments about how much power I have, how much the pads are cracking. Then Ron, he really starts like, hyping me up and really starts getting into it. Like, oh, I like him, saying stuff like that. And he kind of translated power and strength towards like, something like Hercules, the god of strength. And, it had a nice ring to it. And he kept calling me Herc, like short for Hercules. And, it eventually stuck. And every time he'd introduce me to somebody else, he would introduce me as Herc. He wouldn't introduce me as Dalton. He'd be like, this is my man Herc. Or like he'd mess around with other people in the gym, the other older guys. He'd be like, I'm going to get my man Herc on you. And like people just hearing him say it so much, it kind of just stuck. And I mean, it fit. It fit and it stuck. So that's how I ended up with that. And so I like that there's a little bit of a background behind it. I know a lot of MMA fighters kind of just choose their nickname and they just give it to themselves. That's not really a nickname. And that kind of just happened organically. So, that's how I got it.
Awesome story. And I think that's all the questions I have. I just wanted to thank you for the time, and best of luck to you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.